There is a brand new citizenship program. It is now the most affordable on the market, particularly for families, and it is official. We're going to talk to you about that here today. Good morning from Cairo, Egypt. I'm Andrew Henderson. It is my fourth country in 8 days, meeting entrepreneurs, meeting bankers, meeting real estate people for opportunities. They say, oh, he's got 100 employees now. He doesn't travel anymore. Well, here I am, and you can see the style in Cairo. Hotel rooms are a bit darker as we overlook the Nile. But I'm going to talk to you about not Egypt, which has its own citizenship by investment program. A lot of Westerners aren't as keen on that, even though I think it could be a plan E or a plan F for someone who really wants to have a backup plan. But the South Pacific island of Nauru has just introduced officially their own citizenship by investment program. It will be the most affordable of such citizenship by investment programs. I'm going to tell you what's involved. We have waited a couple of days on this to see a few more details come out. They are still coming out, but we're going to talk about what's involved. We're going to talk about who this is for. And first, we're going to answer where the heck is Nauru? Well, it's a South Pacific island country. You can see it there in the map. We've told you in the last couple months the Solomon Islands in that same region has talked about bringing out a citizenship program. No word from them yet. We have had for years a citizenship program in Vanuatu, a country that is very tax advantageous. Basically, I mean, they don't have almost any kinds of taxes. You would think having a citizenship in a country that you could go and live in and totally be off the tax grid legally would be a good thing. But the reputation of that Vanuatu citizenship has just been so bad. I was there years ago and told them what I would change. Nauru seems like they want to have a bit of a better reputation. What I'm seeing initially, I get the vibe that they want this to be run a bit more like a Caribbean citizenship by investment program where it's open to all, but they want to make sure they're getting the right people, which, you know, if you're libertarian, you could say, hey, fewer rules, the better. But when you go and meet with bankers and you want to open a bank account somewhere, or when you want to open a bank account to get a residence program, which I'll tell you why that's important for a passport like this, you know, they're going to look at the quality of your passport. And I've had bankers tell me, hey, even some Caribbean passports, if that's all you have, we don't want you. And so it's always important to have a passport as part of a passport portfolio. We do that for our clients at nomadcapitalist.com/apply. But here's the deal in Nauru. It is in the South Pacific. There's 13,000 people who live there. Very small country. Third smallest population of a sovereign nation in the world that I understand. Obviously very remote. They're offering citizenship for $105,000 for a single applicant. That is the price that the Caribbean citizenship programs, give or take, were at before they doubled their prices under pressure from the European Union. And so I've told you that the cost of these programs is going to go up. I've been saying it for years. People would occasionally look at, oh, they have a hurricane special. He's crazy. Well, the prices have gone up on multiple residence programs, most citizenship programs. Nauru is coming in at kind of the price floor we used to have a year or two ago, $105,000 for a single applicant. If you're a family, it gets even better. For $110,000, you can have a family of 2, 3, or 4. So $5,000 more, you get a family of 4 in, and then it's not much more to add a fifth person. We are seeing talk of being able to add siblings for, I think, $15,000 each for you or your spouse's siblings. We'll have to see details of whether they can be married or not. But bottom line, for a nuclear family, $110,000 is a very good deal. If you're single, $105,000. And I think the profile of someone who might want this, and I'll get into why in a second with the visa-free travel, is someone from a Western country where they think maybe they'll have to give up their citizenship one day, but perhaps the chances aren't that great. So Americans might be interested if their likelihood of ever, renouncing U.S. citizenship is low. If things would have to get bad for you to give up U.S. citizenship, this might be kind of just a nice back pocket passport for you. But if you're Australian, if you're Canadian, where they're kind of flirting and chatting every once in a while about the idea of taxing people worldwide, if you're French, where they've full-throated thrown it out there, they want citizenship-based taxation, at least some do. This could be a passport to get where, hey, if that kind of thing comes into play, you've got a backup plan ready to go, and you can do so at a lower price point than the Caribbean. What I don't want you to do is to be frustrated that you didn't listen to me 2 years ago and get on track with your Caribbean passport. I got St. Lucia many, many years ago. It was $100,000. And St. Lucia is a far superior passport to Nauru. That's just the nature of a market where more and more people, not just in the West, but everywhere, want second citizenship. Here's the interesting thing about this. They're saying they'll do it in 3 to 4 months processing. We're seeing the Caribbean programs, since they introduced interviews remotely, they're taking longer. Now, the one thing I never liked about the industry is they really didn't quote how long it takes to get your file together. That's one thing I think we do the best job in the industry at. Nobody's perfect, but I think we do the best job at helping you put together your file. I've got a stack of paperwork here from a bank this thick that I want to research, and I've been carrying it around with me for the last couple of weeks. I hate filling out paperwork, and I haven't asked anyone on the team, hey, can you help me fill out this paperwork? That's what we do to shorten the time for you to actually file your application. Once that's done, the Caribbean is taking longer. Nauru's saying once you make that file known to us, 3 to 4 months, we'll process it. Then you pledge your oath of allegiance to Nauru. Then you pay your $105,000, $110,000, what have you. There is no physical presence required. It's pretty standard for a citizenship buy investment program like this. We have seen a little bit more of a move like Antigua and Barbuda. You got to come and visit us in the first couple of years. That's a little bit easier, particularly, of course, for North Americans to get down there. Nauru is a bit harder to get to, and we're going to talk about that as well. But it's going to be faster, no physical presence, only a donation-based program, which I think is fine. There's no, buy a timeshare that some guy gets a $50,000 commission on, and then you see people in the industry, Nomad Capitalist doesn't know what he's talking about Caribbean real estate. No, Nomad Capitalist is shutting down people who make $40,000 and $50,000 commissions, steering you into buying illiquid properties, and then hoping the price of the citizenship program won't change under the law that would make it hard for you to resell in the future. So this is only a donation program. You're going to pay them $105,000 if you're single, and that's gone. On top of that, you're going to pay a $25,000 application fee if you're single. It goes up to $27,500 for that up to family of 4. So again, $7,500 for adding on 3 extra people. Pretty darn good deal. There are due diligence fees, $10,000 for the main application, main applicant, $7,500 for everyone else 16 or older. Pretty standard fare. Where can you go with a Nauru passport? We talk on our Nomad Passport Index. Visa-free travel is not the only thing that makes a passport. It is not as good as a Caribbean passport. It's kind of on par with Vanuatu. It's a little bit better than Vanuatu because of the better reputation. You can still go to the UK and Ireland, which you cannot do as a Vanuatu citizen. And so theoretically, if you have a passport that gives you access to a lot of the rest of the world, but like the UK and Ireland are the tough ones, and you need to go there for business or you want to go there, hey, this offers that. You do not have access to Schengen in Europe. You do have the UAE, you do have Russia, you do have a smattering of visa-free, e-visa, visa-on-arrival countries all around the world. So it is a backup passport. I'm here in Egypt. If I were Egyptian and I were successful in crypto or I had a business, I would spend the extra money 9 times out of 10, I would guess, to get the better passport in, let's say, the Caribbean. Now, we'll see what happens if Nauru is going to be open to a few different nationalities that the Caribbean programs don't like. Are they going to take Russians? Are they going to take Iranians? In those cases, maybe you're stuck. We don't really deal with that much here. But it is, I think, a passport for a Westerner who wants to have a backup plan. And this is probably not the passport if you're planning on, giving up your Western citizenship next year. Again, 9 times out of 10, I would probably spend more money, unless you just, want to live in a handful of places. Here's one thing you can do. You can get a second passport like this, and you can add a residence permit to it. So, you could go anywhere. I was just in Southeast Asia. Malaysia has a more expensive program where you don't need to be there to keep your residence permit active for up to 20 years. Thailand has a program. Go there for basically 1 day a year. Indonesia has a program. You don't need to be there. A lot of programs in a place like Southeast Asia. The UAE theoretically, Gulf countries. Saudi Arabia has permanent residence. There's lots of countries you can get residence permits, and in some in Latin America too, where you don't need to go there. I would argue the ones in the Middle East and Asia are going to be less judgmental towards Nauru. Where the heck is Nauru? Than, let's say, Mexico, for example. Or some Latin American countries. Not all Latin American countries, but I think some Latin American countries will be a bit more judgmental about giving you a residence permit in Nauru. What you might do is get the residence permit in your current passport and then go and spend the time to flip it over later. The bottom line is you can have residence permits in this passport to where, let's say, you're French, and the government comes in and says, we're taxing you even though you live in Dubai. Well, you can have your UAE residence permit under your Nauru passport, And you can say, hey, I don't want to be French anymore. Now, easier said than done to not be French, which is why for all these passports, you want a backup plan in place faster. But I think this is an affordable backup plan if you think the odds of something bad happening are lower. Here's what you don't get with this passport that you even do get with Caribbean citizenship by investment, and that's a place to go. I don't see anything in the world happening where your thing is, I got to get to Nauru. Even for private aviation, it's expensive to get there. I mean, this is not like we have guys, we chartered a plane. It was 27 grand for a couple hours, get a whole bunch of guys together for my birthday. And I told one of the guys on the plane, he's got one of these citizenship by investment passports that he had in his back pocket. And I'm like, now's the time to use it. Get that first stamp. So you can use these passports some places, but what's it going to cost to go to Nauru if the world falls apart? I mean, people were stuck in Canada during the pandemic. Hey, get a private plane. How much does it cost to fly to Nauru? So, even if you could fly to Nauru, what are you going to do there? I would argue, you want a passport portfolio. People can make fun of Egypt. And I'm not saying that's the passport for you, but at least there's a functioning city with restaurants and staff you can hire for your house and things going on. Nauru, not so much. I mean, even the Caribbean has that. And the benefit the Caribbean has is the Eastern Caribbean states and the broader CARICOM region, where you've got, at least 6 different countries you can live in. Some of them are, or at least one of them is totally tax-free. You've got over a dozen countries in the broader CARICOM region you have access to. You don't have that level of access in the South Pacific. So with Nauru, you're adding one country effectively that you can live in. It's not a country you probably would live in. It's even going to be a little bit harder to go to. I need to check. I believe that Nauru probably has the same Australia and New Zealand visa-free transit, which could be something that if you have a passport portfolio of unique passports, that could add something, being able to transit Australia and New Zealand. I need to double check on that, but I know Vanuatu and the Solomon Islands, for example, have that. Because how else would you get to your country if you can't fly through but not enter Australia or New Zealand? So they have that, I believe. Could be wrong. But this is not a place where you're going to add. So this is a passport where this is an identity. Now, we've told you just having a second passport doesn't mean you can go to the bank and just open a bank account and not tell them you're American. You shouldn't do that, and you can't do that. So this is an opportunity of, if my country doesn't serve me anymore, where do I, how do I identify myself? And I might start building up residence permits on the back of that to where I don't need to worry about switching things over if I ever decide I don't want to be a citizen of my country anymore. I think the fact that more countries are talking about citizenship-based taxation, the mere fact that even in the wake of the recent U.S. elections, people are talking about, Eva Longoria is leaving, Richard Gere is leaving, Ellen has left. What are some of the comments? Cancel their citizenships, take their passports. Now, is that ever going to become a law that an American or anyone who moves to a different country should just lose their citizenship because some people don't like them? No, but that's the sentiment, and it's growing. It's growing that if you don't, go along with lockstep of what the government's doing, you don't have benefits as a citizen, you have obligations. And I think Nauru is geographically isolated, geographically neutral, probably pretty geopolitically neutral, I would say. It's a country that no one's ever heard of, which, there's times when that's not advantageous, but in times of trade wars and real wars and countries getting into tiffs and countries coming after your money, a country of 13,000 people that wants to leave you the heck alone because they don't really have any other choice and they're just a peaceful country, that's a good thing to have in your portfolio. And I think that they're probably going to put this money to good use. They're putting it to under this program, the Climate Resilience Citizenship Program. Unlike the U.S., they're going to actually spend the money well, I would argue, and they're going to actually improve their country because they actually have to be worried about sea levels rising. And so this is going to be something to address that. They're going out into the marketplace and saying, hey, listen, give us resources, give us money, give us a donation. We'll give you citizenship. You can have a backup plan, and we're going to make sure that our country remains strong for the 13,000 people who live here. We have to. We are not an empire. We are not bossing people around the world. We're just protecting our little island here in the middle of the ocean. And there's something beautiful about that if you are of a libertarian mindset. So, clean criminal record, clean character, 18 years or older, show your proof of funds, do an interview, pledge an oath of allegiance, pay the 105 grand or the 110 grand, and you will get visa-free access to 89 countries. You'll get a passport, which they say they have a process that you'll be able to renew it without going there. That is always the thing. You want to have the right person to make sure you renew your passport, whether it's in Nauru or any of the other citizenship by investment programs where you're not going to be there. But that's the profile. Someone who does not need a place to go, someone who wants a backup passport, someone who wants to do so because they realize, hey, could have gotten St. Lucia or Dominica for the same price not very long ago, but those days are over. Prices have gone up. If you want a backup plan, this is now the most affordable, and you can add your family for a reasonable price. We're going to be talking to our clients about this. What I like is it does feel real, as opposed to some of the like North Macedonia never really went anywhere, for example. I think this will be a good option, but it's one you want to consider out of all the different options. And it's one that you want to consider, lastly, in the grand scheme of things. How does it impact the banking and the kind of banking that you want? Is a Swiss bank, if that's what you want, going to be more open or less open or just as open to this versus St. Lucia, right? What visa-free travel do you need? What residence permits do you need? If you gave up your citizenship, what would you do? Where would you go? If you moved without giving up your citizenship, what would you do? Where would you go? Like all those questions and many more need to be addressed. Nauru will be the answer for some people. It won't be the answer for other people. Some people, the answer is you should pay the extra 95 grand and go to the Caribbean. Other people, hey, listen, okay, here's a backup plan. If it ever comes to being executed, you'll want to add more on later. It could also be, hey, I'm entitled to citizenship by descent in Italy. It's going to take me 4 years because I'm not willing to go there. And so I need something to protect me right now for those next 4 years because who knows what could happen. But 4 years from now, I'm confident Italy will be cool, right? Could be for someone like that as well, even if you are an American. So many different permutations. Good to have more options. We will be talking more about Nauru in the months to come.
This is how to live like a king in Madrid.